but the lesson that we're doing today about historical Buddhist sites in Sri Lanka is coming out of that conversation from last week that you wanted to learn more about the history of Buddhism in Sri Lanka. So instead of doing just like a bunch of slides about like, here's this historical site, here's this historical site, here's this historical site, we've decided to go on sort of a deeper dive, talk about one Buddhist site in particular today, but then give you some historical context and talk about the Buddhist councils as well.
Yeah, so we told you to read, do some research on Buddhist sites. So trying to put this lesson together, we picked a lot of different Buddhist sites, and then we had slides and things. And then at some point it sounded more like a promotion for tourists for Sri Lanka, right? And I thought, okay, we need to do something different about it. So, so since this is the Sunday school, and you guys showed interest in learning about Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan culture, Buddhist sites, and many things. So as Mihiri said, we decided to incorporate all of that into today's lesson. I'm sorry that we didn't send you the background materials because we didn't come this topic until yesterday after we got rid of our tourist promotion.
We kind of changed lessons.
Lesson yesterday. So today we will be actually learning, as Mihiri said, about Buddhist councils. Until Mihiri just get the slide, those of who had the lesson with me about Vishaka, I know some of you definitely were there. I did talk about the Buddhist council, first Buddhist council in that lesson. Oops, okay.
Sorry. I just wanted to have that ready just in case. All right.
Okay. Anybody remember? I did talk about the first Buddhist council. Remember that? That's how I started about Vishaka, the greatest lay female disciple of the Buddha.
All right.
Anybody remember that? Yes, sort of. That okay.
Okay, what's going on? Uh-oh. What about my internet connection is unstable? There we go. All right.
So we will be talking about the Buddhist councils and one particular Buddhist site in Sri Lanka, the Aluvihare Rock Temple, because it is an important site related to the Fourth Buddhist Council. So there are many more Buddhist sites which came before this, but we are not going in a chronological sequence of from when the Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka, but that would be in Anuradhapura and Mihintale, which we will be doing, but we thought this would be a good one to start with. Okay, so the Buddhist councils are assemblies or the conferences or meetings of monks who they assembled after the parinirvana or passing away of the Buddha to look at the Buddha's teaching and to approve, in a sense, these are the correct teaching of Buddha, and to get rid of the things which are not correct, and to settle disputes of this. Because as you remember, for maybe not remember, the Buddha's teaching at the times were only done through passing through the Mauto Mukha Parampara. They were reciting. So there were memory monks who would have good memories and remember all the Buddhist teaching, and they would recite. And then from generation to generation, Buddhist monks would be reciting these, and it would be handed down with the memory and reciting. So, so the councils were a very important part of preserving Buddha's teachings, because they are the ones, as I said, who pretty much edited, right? And, what another word, like.
Well, so some of you who might be a little older and like middle and high school, you might recall maybe from your history classes, another famous type of council in the Christian tradition, the Council of Nicaea. And the Council of Nicaea was about deciding different doctrinal things in Christianity. So the question of, is Jesus Christ a human being, or is he the Son of God? Like those types of questions were discussed during these councils. So that's what happens during like religious councils, is people decide, okay, what do we include in the doctrine and what we don't. And just like in the Christian Council of Nicaea, there are people who disagreed with what the council decided, and they became their own tradition. So not all councils are recognized by all traditions, even in Buddhism, right? There are sometimes different traditions choose different councils as valid, based on their own beliefs and based on their own traditions.
And also in these councils, when the disputes are resolved and they vote, and then sometimes what happens is the people who get voted out start different sects because they don't like that. So that's maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. But as Mihiri said, not all councils are recognized by all the traditions. Traditions mean in Buddhism, there are Theravada tradition, Mahayana traditions, and other minor traditions. Okay, so we'll just go through like quickly when these Buddhist councils were held. These were approximate times so that you remember. The first council was held in Rajgaha, that was in Bihar, in current India, 3 months after Buddha's Parinibbana. And second council in Vaisali, in same region. Oops, that is 100 years. Can you check? Yes, 100 years after Buddha's Parinibbana. Third council in Patali, about 300 years after Buddha's Parinibbana. And the fourth council, again, there was a dispute between two different factions. So it happened as two separate events in Sri Lanka and in Kashmir. And they did not happen at the same time. One happened just before the first century, the other one in first century. And the fifth council, this is our modern times, in 1871, about 2,417 years after Buddha's Parinibbana. And the most recent one, there were other ones in Thailand, but the ones in Theravada traditions, sixth council was happening, started in 1954 and ended in 56. That is to pretty much commemorate 2,500 years after Buddha's Parinibbana. And the 2,500 years, that was called Buddha Jayanti. And guess what? My middle name, that's how I got my middle name. And when this happened, I was a baby. Okay.
So the first Buddhist council was held at Rajagaha, or modern Rajgir, which is in the state of Bihar in India. It's said to have taken place 3 months after the death of the Parinibbana of the Buddha. So it was organized by Mahakashyapa, the senior disciple of the Buddha, after he heard a younger monk suggests that the rules of the monastic order could
Yeah.
be relaxed.
This last, and in the Vishaka lesson, I talked about it, that, Mahakashyapa Thera, when he heard that Buddha passed away, he was not near that place. So when he was coming to this funeral service, he heard, a young monk was saying, why are you all crying? Now we are all free. We can do whatever we want because he's gone. So he heard that, and he realized, yes, we really need to organize and commit to what's especially that was to have rules of monastic order, so for the Sangha, rules, monastic discipline. And as I said in that lesson, it was done by 500 Arahat, and under the Upali, Venerable Upali did the Sutra, no, he did the Vinaya, and Ananda Thera did the Sutra. And this is the Saptapanni cave where it was supposed to have the first Buddhist council held, and it is in Bihar. In you can see that red
You can
dot,
see the little red dot,
and
so
it's
it's the
bordering,
northwest.
near Nepal and the northern end.
All right.
So as I said in the previous slides, 500 senior monks Arhat did the Vinaya Pitaka and Sutra Pitaka as the accurate teaching of the Buddha. And that's how the current Buddhist was remembered, kept as generations to come, because it happened immediately after Buddha passed away. So there was no dilution, no corruption, or not much change, because it is still fresh. And they got together, most educated monks got together and did this assembly to analyze and to edit and to throw out the incorrect ones, and had a concise version of, again, it was not still written, it was through by reciting, by the memory. So after all these things approved, the entire assembly of 500 monks recited the approved text. Okay.
So the first council, basically they chronologically arranged all the Buddhist teaching, but there needed to be a second council later on that had to resolve some of the sprawl problems that were related to the Vinaya, or the monastic order.
The rules for the Sangha, the monks.
And that's where we get the second Buddhist council, which is held in Vaishali, or Vaisali, an ancient city, and again is in the state of Bihar, northern India, which is on the border of Nepal, about a century after the Buddha's death. So this one was called to settle a dispute regarding the monastic rules, the rules of discipline followed by the monks, and to discuss monastic practices. So according to the our Sri Lankan Theravada tradition, the assembled councils of monks were split between those who supported relaxing some of these rules and those who were opposed to relaxing some of the rules. So a majority of the council voted against the relaxed rules.
Yes.
And then those people who had supported relaxing some rules, they withdrew and they formed their own school, the Mahasangika school.
That's how the different sects arises. You don't, I mean, like anything, you don't agree to something, you form a different.
You form your own group.
Yeah. Okay. So the third Buddhist council happened because the second Buddhist council also failed to resolve Vinaya matters. Of course, you would think, with, every passing year or the centuries, there are, of course, new things discords arises, right? Because people change, the times change, right?
Like there are different matters that are happening within that country, like economic, right? Social changes are happening. So then, of course, when these changes are happening, there could be some discord.
Yeah, for example, like in the second Buddhist council, one of the rules that they really was very disputed was this Vaisali monks wanted to handle money, and that was voted out. Now the current time that, I mean, monks do handle money, so the rules change according to the time. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of years, thousands of years after. Of course, like everything in life, in the world, things evolve. So then by this time, that there were 18 Nikayas or sects, because there were differences of opinions. So the Emperor Asoka is a very famous, Buddhist, someone who did a lot for Buddhism. And we will do one lesson on that.
On him and how he relates to Mihintale, which is another famous Buddhist historical and religious site in Sri Lanka. So we'll talk about him there. But sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So Emperor Asoka, wanted to have this Buddhist third council to overcome hostility among Buddhist sects. And I mean, there are a lot of details about this, but we are, this is like more general things which that you, we wanted to introduce to you about the councils. If you want to know more, you can read those, read in detail. Moggali Puttatissa monk was the one who was the chief of monk in the third council. And so he did, the major accomplishments were to the purification of certain disputes and writing Abhidharma Anga section. And so this was held in Emperor Asoka's capital, Pataliputra. That's about, 250 years before the current era. And for this council, Moggaliputta, elder monk, and 1,000 monks participated.
And you can see on the map that Pataliputra is very near Vaishali and Rajagaha, which is
where the three councils
are very
close to each other. Yeah, the same region.
So Emperor Asoka, he promoted the expansion of Buddhism by sending monks to different territories around his empire to share the teachings of the Buddha. So one of his most significant achievements, and I think one of the most significant achievements in the development and spread of Buddhism, period, was sending these monks who were well-versed in the Buddha's Dhamma, who could recite all of it by heart, and most importantly, could talk about it to other people and teach it in different countries. So according to the Mahavamsa, he sent monks to spread Buddha's teachings in modern day, what we would call Pakistan now, Kashmir and Gandhara, or Pakistan,
Nepal,
Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and then all the way over to the Greeks and the Greek Empire.
So we will talk about this more when we do that lesson. But I think you all probably know about the Poson. It happens in June, where the Buddhism was introduced to Sri Lanka, and that was, in this emissary, Mahinda Thera and few other monks were sent by Emperor
Asoka, Emperor Asoka's son, was actually Mahinda Thera, and that happened in Mihintale. So we will have a lesson on that as well. So this is, as Mihiri said, that was very, very important. Most important, I think, with respect to a spread of Buddhism in the world. The fourth Buddhist Council, as we said, happened in two different places, Sri Lanka and Kashmir. And this, transcription of Buddhist teaching happened in these fourth councils.
So what that means is people started writing things down.
Yes. So in Sri Lanka into Pali, and in Kashmir into Sanskrit. So for the first time, because of these councils, which actually happened, 50, 100 years apart, but that was first, it was in Sri Lanka and then it was in Kashmir, and Buddhist teaching was for the first time was in print. So it's said that 500 very scholarly monks congregated at a remote and hidden, you will see from the pictures, it was caves, and to perform, first recite, just like all the councils, and then in all these councils, first you recite all the teaching and then you agree on an acceptable version. So here also they did it and then they transcribed it. And we will talk about how this transcription process and on Ola leaves or Puskola pot. So you can talk
This is
about
what here.
Yeah.
So this is the Ola leaves or the Puskolapot, and we'll show a little bit about how these things are made a little bit later. But they transcribed the Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutta Pitaka, and the Abhidhamma Pitaka on these leaves.
Yeah, these are called Tripitaka or three Pitakas or baskets. Pitaka means a basket, so into three different groups. Essentially, this Tripitaka is the Bible of Buddhism. It is, this teaching is in Tripitaka.
So this was the first time, again, that that the teachings of the Buddha were actually documented at Aluihara, which we will. We're going to still talk about Tripitaka.
Yeah. So Aluihara, it's called, ancient, it was also called Aloka Vihara. Aloka means light, and the temple of light. So it said, even though this happened century before BC, it's already established under the patronage of King Devanampiyatissa. Devanampiyatissa was the king when the Buddhism was brought to Sri Lanka by Mahinda Thera, the King Asoka's son, the emissary to Sri Lanka. So at the time there was King Valagambahu, and there was a lot of invasions from South India, and they destroyed Buddhist temples, and this also the poor harvest, because there were wars going on, and then there was a great famine, and so in fact people and lot of monks also died. So that made monks realize that Dhamma passed by oral tradition could perish if there were certain circumstances happens. Imagine like being killed by invaders, or you don't have anything to eat and you die, right? So then the Buddhism would have been gone. So at this point they thought we need to document the Dhamma in order to preserve it for the future. So this is very important, yeah. Okay.
So the old library at Aluihara Temple, which had safely housed these transcribed volumes for so many centuries, was totally destroyed by the British in 1803. So many parts of the temple complex were destroyed again by the British, and it took a long time to reconstruct it. And it took almost 100 years to recompile and rewrite some of the manuscripts. So the Tripitaka was written by members of the Buddhist Sangha in many of the major Asian Buddhist countries. So it was written in Pali, Sanskrit, and other languages, but the surviving Sri Lankan version, which is actually written on palm leaves, is the most complete.
So the Fifth Buddhist Council happened in Mandalay, Burma, or current Myanmar, and under their king at the time, King Mindon, in 1871. And there again, like other things, objective was to recite all the teaching of the Buddha according to the Pali canon of Theravada Buddhism and examine in very, minute details and see if they have been altered, distorted, or some are missing. And they were presided by 3 older bhikkhus. But the Fifth Buddhist Council was done mainly by Burmese, so many other Buddhist countries did not get involved. This recitation lasted 5 months. The Sixth Buddhist Council, actually that is for the 2,500 years of commemoration, Buddha Jayanti. These chronologies are different, but this is according to Theravada chronology, 2,500 year anniversary death of Gautam Buddha. So that was also in Rangoon of Burma. And it happened in the Kabe Aye Pagoda, and I think it was specially built for this cave complex for this particular council. And the council was attended by 2,500 monks from 8 Theravada Buddhist countries. And it lasted from Vesak 1954 to Vesak 1956, and to coincide to complete on the 25,000th anniversary of Buddha's Parinibbana.
So the entire text of the Pali Theravada Canon was reviewed and recited by monks from Myanmar, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Pakistan. So just like previous Buddhist councils, the major purpose of the Sixth Council was to preserve the teachings of the Buddha and practices as understood by the Theravada tradition. So then the council also synthesized a new version of the Pali text, which was ultimately transcribed into different languages.
Yeah. So now let's talk about Aluwihara temple. The reason I put it in here, this map, and where it is, because when you go to Sri Lanka, either by yourself or with your parents, that by knowing this, that you can ask your parents to take you there, or you can, now some of you are old enough to go, when this pandemic is over. Okay.
Once you're all vaccinated.
Yeah. And so it is in Matale, in the central district.
So here.
Right. And it is on 2 miles north of Matale, the town, on Kandy Jaffna Road, which is I'm just pointing out.
Oh,
so
the
Jaffna's
here.
And the Kandy is here.
So there's a road that goes,
yeah,
that goes from Kandy to Jaffna.
And it is just 2 miles off the town Matale. And then this particular thing shows, here's actually the road to that, the Kandy Jaffna Road. So you can see the temple is right there. So you kind of park and you just walk. See all
so
of
here,
this.
so this is the temple right here. This is like the road. This is like the, I guess, the drive
Yeah.
leading up to the temple.
Yeah.
And here's the main
road.
Here's the main road, like the big Kandy Jaffna road. It's a big road.
So it's really
It's
close.
easy to access.
Because sometimes you have to go to Buddhist sites. You take a boat, and sometimes go through this jungle
And
roads.
if you've ever been to Mihintala, you have to park and then climb up a hill, right? Like, and all these steps. But this is very easily accessible. So we highly recommend that, when you get a chance to go to Sri Lanka, to go visit, because it's right there.
And the roads are much better now. Right. So this is a Makara Torana. It's called Makara, is like a dragon, like an entrance. And then you go through and you can see these are more modern ones. And then there are caves, which is, over this hillside, right? This is the, new one. And you can see, like, in the distance on the here a Buddha statue, which is a new addition, and here is a bigger version. Here is a cave, and you can see like new construction right here. So before, the monks were living inside the caves, right? So that's most of these are, because as we said, that it was destroyed too, so things were
had to be rebuilt.
So here you can see caves, and again, like, you can see these newly constructed things, which is adjacent, incorporated.
It's built into the cave
caves.
itself.
So you can see here too. So you can enter and you go inside, and you are inside that cave. Again, here too, here's a cave, which is a building.
The building, again, is built into the cave. The new construction is built into the cave.
So one of the caves is dedicated to a very famous and revered Indian monk scholar called Buddha Gosa, and he had his sculpture outside of the cave. He has done lot interpretation and writing for Pali scriptures. He resided in Anuradhapura in 4th, 5th centuries, and then he spent several years in Aluvihara, and he engaged in scholarly work, and he contributed a lot to Buddhist writing, and he did it in Aluvihara. And here in this particular cave, it says, Valagamba Samaya Tripitaka Potwala Livima, means like the reign of Valagamba, the king, and the Tripitaka was put into, it was written in books, or they call like Grantharuda, means like it was put it into print.
Yeah.
So
once you go, so the whatchamacallit, the new construction is there to provide walls to protect the caves from, like rain and sunshine and stuff. But once you go inside, the temple has caves with ancient inscriptions spread across the hills. There are also many statues and large statues and images of the Lord Buddha. So the caves have many like fresco paintings on the walls and ceilings. And the main cave has a large reclining Buddha statue, which is about 33 feet long. And by his side, there's standing Buddha and seated Buddhas. And you can see paintings of lotuses on the ceiling.
Yeah, here too,
So this, yeah, that's a close up of what's on the ceiling behind the large Buddha statue. So it's very colorful, and it's very interesting when you go in.
Yeah.
And here's
So there's another lesson maybe we can incorporate into another lesson is Rock Cave Temple and Dambulla. This actually is very close to Matale. Like you can go in
Here,
less than an hour.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just go back to the thing. So here's Matale. This is where Aluvihara is, and here's Dambulla. Right, and Dambulla is Some of you may be familiar with it. Some of you may have gone there, but it's also very nearby Sigiriya, which you may be familiar with. But Dambulla has similar rock cave paintings to that look like this as well.
So maybe we will talk about that in another lesson. Okay. So one of the things which I actually got shocked going into this particular cave thing.
It's kind of intense.
I didn't put pictures in there. It's very
We didn't want to traumatize you.
If you want to, you can go and look into this. It is like hell, you know. I mean, it is the pictures, and it's not a hell, you know. It is statues and pictures of what happens if you are bad, and you know, depicting of hell, and it is really gory and shocking.
Okay, so it's very gory, it's very shocking. You got people getting split open, you got people climbing a tree made of like swords or whatever this is. But keep in mind that this is a cautionary tale to remind lay people of the consequences of their bad actions. Again, it's kind of a way to scare people into behaving.
I have only seen one other thing like that in the South, but personally, I was actually shocked when I saw it the first time, and I didn't understand the place in one of these important places of Buddhism. What the hell is hell doing is here?
But keep in mind, this is like, we don't necessarily really. This is not something that we learn about, right? But keep in mind, like when these things were done, right? They were done in moments in time where maybe people weren't as literate, where it's like now we can just go online and we could read the entire Tripitaka if we wanted to. Right. Yeah. There's so many ways that we can be we can understand Buddhism. And all of you I know can understand and discuss and write about Buddhism in a very intelligent way, where those resources weren't available for others during this time. So how do you get the point across that you have to do good and not do bad? Well, you go to these kind of extreme lengths to be like, this is what happens when you do bad things. Because again, there weren't the resources back in those times that we have now. So it was a way of kind of appealing to and kind of speaking in a language that people would understand. It's like, if you should, go and follow the 5 precepts, otherwise this will happen to you.
My theory is,
oh God,
my interpretation, in 1803, British came and destroyed these properties. Maybe if somebody else, a foreign invader come, this is what happened if you mess with us, we'll poke you.
It's a warning to future colonizers. That could be it too. I don't know.
Because that is maybe
the demons are actually depicting the British. They're supposed to be, they represent the British. They are the colonizers. Okay, I feel like we've kind of gone on a tangent here. But just like, we just wanted to warn you, just in case you do decide to go to this place, that you're not too shocked and appalled by some of the paintings that are there.
Paintings and statues.
Okay.
All right. So now we had done our interpretations of the hell and stuff.
So we'll go back to Buddhism.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about this Ola Puskola Poto, the books made of Ola or Palmyra leaves, because I think because for this lesson, because Buddhism was written in Ola leaves, I think it's an important thing. So that's why we put it in here. So
Ola leaves are popular in the past, and the historic tales, folk tales, medicinal, astrology, religion, things were written in these ola leaves. And what happened was when with the time when more languages were developed and became complex, people did need a written records. So you know places, countries like India, Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka began to use dried old palm leaves, ola leaves, to make palm leaf manuscripts for the writing. So in Sri Lanka, this is called ola leaf books. And ola was derived from Tamil ole, which means palm leaves. In Sinhala, we call puskola pot. Puskola means blank paper on which nothing has been written. I didn't know that. I was always wondered what pus. We would usually pus means fungus, but it's not fungus. It is a blank.
Yeah.
So pus kola means a leaf. So a leaf with a book made of blank papers. Right. So
Kind of inspiring, right? A blank paper on which nothing has been written. It has so many possibilities.
So once this became the medium of writing, uh, then the stone and round inscriptions were the ones done in earlier days. So it replaced that. So, and then, Portuguese, another invader, they did bring printing press. So that was used during after 1505 when Portuguese came. We introduced the other ways of doing other than ola leaf books.
Oh, wait, I wanted to say, it's actually kind of cool, but when I was a student at Harvard, they actually had some Sri Lankan or Puskalapots from Sri Lanka at one of the libraries, and you had to like make an appointment. Like you couldn't just go and like see, like you couldn't just like check it out. Like it was in the library, right? So I was taking a class in Pali, and I was learning Pali, and so our professor took us. Because it was Pali, there was only 3 students in the class. Let's be honest. So she took the 3 of us to that library and made an appointment so we could see it. We couldn't touch it or anything. It was in a sealed box that had like its own like oxygen supply and things like that, because it is very, very old. But it was very neat to be that close to, a piece of history. It's unfortunate that that piece of Sri Lankan history is at a place like Harvard and not in Sri Lanka itself. But I was like, oh, it was actually kind of pretty cool to see. And so now we have a video.
So before we actually see the video, maybe we can just, I did some screen captures. So we can go over a little bit, like, then we can go. Okay, so the making ola leaves is that a long process. So, just the monks and lay people are involved in this. They even worship the tree before they cut this ola leaf. So here is, this is already cut. Maybe we can see a little bit in the video if we had time. So after cleaning and worshiping, and worshiping means like saying some gathas in front of the tree, and somebody goes into the tree and goes and pick a young palm bud and then cuts. And then after it is cut, it is wrapped in a white piece of cloth and it is taken to the temple. You can see it here. This is the young palm bud, and then it is put on and the outer wrapping is taken out, and then they separate it into 2 parts. And you know what equal is? Equal is the iratta. Iratta means like there's like a little thin, what is it? In the leaf, there's like this thin, long
uh,
What are the name? What's the name? We are not botanists.
oh, here, here it is actually. See this, do you see this, this palm bud, even though it is like this, you can separate it kind of like an accordion. It's kind of like a palm leaf, and then each palm leaf has this little, junction where there is separated by
the connective
this
tissue.
thin
Well, not tissue.
this little thing, and then what they do is they take this little wooden part of that, because you want it to be smooth, right? Otherwise, if you have, it's kind of like a Chinese chopstick. That's the only thing I can remember, like a thin one, right, going all the way. So then you cannot roll it out. So you cut it. It's called narrative, the eagle, so this little wood part.
It is the sort of connecting
it's a
fiber.
connecting part, like this is the two things, and there's
And
like
then there's a thing in the middle, right, that connects the, well, maybe we should just watch the video.
yeah, but anyway, so that take out.
You're pointing at the screen.
Oh,
They
sorry.
can't see you pointing.
Okay, so this one, these things after, okay, I always forget, so after this hard part is taken out,
Mhm.
now you can roll it. So
It's much
here,
more flexible.
So now it is rolled and tied with the little string. And then these rolls are boiled in a pot with medicinal leaves for 5 hours. It's a long process, right? And then afterwards, the boiled ones have to be dried. So they take it out and then let it cool for some time, and then they hang it up, to dry in a cool place for 7 to 8 days. And this we need to watch the video. So what happens is like this, it is put on something, and then you pull up and down to make it smooth, right? And
Like so.
yeah, like that. Yeah, so like that. And then they cut these things into the pieces and put it together. And then, as you see, these are not like very finished, right? They are rough on the edges. So what they do is they burn or singe this uneven edge, and the way that they do is with the udala. Udala is a mammoty, like a hoe. Yeah, hoe.
HOE.
HOE, and you put that into a
These are children.
into a coal, hot coal, and then you take it and very hot iron, and you put it on top of that and make it smooth. So after that, they punch it with hose and
so they can be strung together and held together like a book.
yeah. So then to write, they have special equipment, and some black stuff, and then after they write, they just rub it on with the wax to make it smooth and to make it permanent. And this is what happened. Finished version looks like. And Sri Lanka, there are so many of these books. Okay, so are you guys interested in watching a little bit?
We're not going to watch the whole thing.
We're
just going to watch selections.
We can just, what time is it? 7:50. Actually, it's only 10 minutes. Would you like to watch the whole thing? Because I think this is the last slide.
Yeah,
right?
this is like the last slide.
Yeah.
So we have time actually.
Yeah.
Can you just show me with your thumbs up, thumbs down, whether you can hear what's going on?
කුරුණෑගල දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ පොල්පතිගම ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කොට්ඨාසයේ ඓතිහාසික නාගල රාජමහා විහාරස්ථානයේදී පුස්කොළ පොත් නිර්මාණය කිරීම පිළිබඳ වාර්තා මේ වැඩසටහන. පුස්කොළ පොත් නිර්මාණය සඳහා අවශ්‍ය තල් ගොබය ලබා ගැනීමට නෑබුල් තල් ගසක් තෝරා ගන්නවා. ගොබය කපා ගන්නා දින උදෑසනම පෙරහැරෙන් තල් ගස ළඟට ගොස් ගස පාමුල පිරිසිදු කොට මල් පහන් පුදා සුවඳුම් අල්ලා දේවාරාධනා කොට පිරිත් දේශනා කරනවා.
අනීගා සුමනා හොන්තු සබ්බේ ඥාතිබී අස්මින් විහාරකර පබ්බකරුක්කගාමේ සබ්බේ සුදීප නගරේ සුපිචක්කවාලේ දේවා සුරා ගරුඩ රක්කස නාගයක් හාරක්ඛන්තු මං සකනු භාව බලේන නිච්ඡං.
තල් ගසට වැඳ ගසට ගොඩ වී ගොබය කපා
You see he's using a machete.
බිමට බා ගන්නවා.
That's all that all of these come from that particular thing. So all this pageantry, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an
It's like
important
ceremony.
yeah. versus
බිමට බාගත් තල් ගොබය සුදු පිරුවටයකින් උතා පන්සලට පෙරහැරෙන් රැගෙන යනවා. එම තල් ගොබය දෙකට ඉරා
Okay, so now you can see that sort of accordion-ness of it.
so the Chinese watch that I was talking about.
So you have to cut that part off so that it becomes separate.
තල ඉර
Oh, they are.
There it is.
කොට
There it
Yeah.
is.
Chinese go hard to explain
That
what that
connective
is.
fiber.
පුස්කොළ වට්ටම් සාදා ගන්නවා.
You see like ribbons out of that as well.
එක තල් ගොබයකින් පුස්කොළ වට්ටම් සෑහෙන ප්‍රමාණයක් සාදා ගන්නවා.
Just from one.
සාදා ගන්නා ලද තලකොළ වට්ටම් සුදු පිරුවටෙහි ඔතා ඖෂධ පත්‍ර යොදා තම්බා ගන්නා ස්ථානයට රැගෙන යනවා.
Now they are going to
මෙම පුස්කොළ වට්ටම් තැන්බීමේදී කැප්පිටියා කොළ, ගස් ලබු කොළ,
papaya leaf,
අමුකා,
turmeric,
කොටා,
right? You need all those leaves together. And the kaha.
මුත්තියේලා, තල්කොළ වට්ටම් එහි දමා
The boiling is to make the palm
පැය
pineapple
5ක්
like,
පමණ
and
හොඳින්
I'm sure
තම්බා
these
ගන්නවා.
different like papaya leaves, turmeric, they help. They probably there's probably some chemical reactions that help in
තම්බාගත් තල්කොළ වට්ටම්
the color and the color. Yes, the turmeric is good for color.
එකින් එකගෙන දිගහැර පවනේ දින 10ක් පමණ වේලා ගන්නවා.
They are dry for about, is it 10?
වේලාගත් තල්කොළ නිසි ලෙස දිගහැරීම සඳහා උපය ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා
The shine,
කඳ ඇදීම සිදු කරනවා.
kind of
It's
like
not
tug of war.
polishing.
Tug of war.
කඳ ඇදීමෙන් අනතුරුව තල්කොළ එක පිට එක තබා යකඩ හෝ දැව පට්ටම් වලට සිරකොට අවශ්‍ය විවිධ ප්‍රමාණයන්ට කපා ගන්නවා. ඉන්පසු උදුළු තලයක් හොඳින් ගිනිහම් කොට තල්කොළයේ සතර පැත්තම පුලුස්සනවා.
This is all with very basic, like low tech, right?
අනවශ්‍ය රේණු සියල්ල එවිට පිලිස්සී තල්කොළය ලිවීමට සුදුසු පරිදි නිසි ලෙස සකස් වෙනවා. ඉන්පසු කපාගත් තල්කොළ සියල්ල එකට තබා
So they're bunching up all these things together.
හුයහෙවත් නූල ඇදීම සඳහා ඇසිපත් විදීම සිදු කරනවා. පුස්කොළ ලිවීම සඳහා හුරුවන උල්කටුවත් පුස්කොළවල ලියන පන්හිඳ විවිධ ප්‍රමාණයෙන් සකස් කරගත් පත්තිරුත් මෙහි දැක්වේ.
Those are the right way.
පුස්කොළයේ ලිවීම ආරම්භ කරනවා. විවිධ ක්‍රමවලට ලියනවා.
Right, so right way, place it right way.
කළු මැදීම සිදුවන්නේ ඉන් අනතුරුවයි.
The wax is what makes that. It's almost like it's carved.
පත්තිරුවේ තැවරුණු දෑ ඉවත් කිරීම සඳහා කුරහම් පිටි දමා මදිනවා. පසුව පිරිසිදු කරනවා. මෙහි දැක්වෙන්නේ කළු මදින ලද පත්තිරුවකි. ලියන ලද පත්තිරු අංකන පිළිවෙලට එකතු කොට පොත සකස් කරනවා.
Yeah, you can have
That's
it.
the book. Fine.
මෙලෙසින් ලියන ලද
Book cover,
ත්‍රිපිටක ග්‍රන්ථ, සාහිත්‍ය ග්‍රන්ථ,
literature,
වෛද්‍ය ග්‍රන්ථ,
medicine,
නක්ෂත්‍ර ග්‍රන්ථ
astrology.
දසදහස් ගණනක් ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පුරා පවතිනවා.
Sri Lanka.
මෙම ඉපැරණි ලේඛන සම්ප්‍රදාය සහ ග්‍රන්ථ සුරැකීම ශ්‍රී ලාංකික අප සමගේ පරම යුතුයකමකි.
It's a duty of everyone to protect all these books. Now we know what happened in the British, right? I hope that you learned something with watching this video, and I mean, I definitely learned something.
Yeah, same.
Uh,
Because you don't get to see something like this happening. Like I knew Puskolaput existed,
Yeah.
but I never really thought about how you get from palm, like that big branch, to, you know, a page. right? So it's actually quite neat to see the
And I think what's
process.
also interesting is like from the tree itself to the end, it is very low tech,
Yeah,
right? You know, it's just like manpower,
like anybody can do. You just need a machete. You just need, you know,
HOE.
an HOE and some fire, you know, a pot where you can boil some medicinal leaves in, right? Some wax to after you carve the writing in, and some rice flour. I mean,
That's all is available, right?
maybe this is an idea for a future the Hampasa lesson. Once we can meet in person, maybe we'll give you all machetes and we can try to make our own Puskolapota together as a class.
All right. So I think, oh, there's some the other one.
How do I do the next slide?
References.
Okay. Next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are some references where you can read, and there are a lot more research about it, but we thought these are, references that we use. So are there any questions? I mean, we still have a little time, so we can talk about the next one. And of course, let's talk about this.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah.
There we go. Let me see all your faces.
Did you enjoy? I mean, we didn't want it to sound like a tourist talk, and we hope that it didn't sound like one, and you learned something from things, various Buddhist cultural and other educational aspects. So do you like this format, incorporating different facts of
So again, I'm gonna make a Google form sometime this week and send it out to all of you so you can tell us exactly the types of things that you want to learn and how you want to learn these things.
So we can ask, like, what did you learn from this? Maybe we don't have too many since we didn't have any questions or reading materials. Like, just tell what you think of the lesson you learned, something.
What was something like one new thing that you learned that you didn't know before today's lesson?
For me, with the books and watching the video, honestly, I didn't know they were that skinny. I thought they were like regular sized books, but watching the video, I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else?
I learned a lot about the Fourth Buddhist Council because I knew about like Aluvihara and I remember visiting it in Sri Lanka, but I didn't really know much like history or like background information about that. So I learned a lot about that today.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things that I think having these kind of lessons would help you, because you know about things that you have the historical background, the importance, right? So now when you go, you can actually enjoy, not enjoy, you can
Appreciate
it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Who else? Something.
Has any one of you visited
Aluvihara before?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because people think, usually people go to Maligawa, which is where, I'm from, in Kandy. So, I mean, these people always come there, because it has other attractions to it too.
And then Dambula, if people are going to see Giria, they go to Dambula. Have any of you been to Dambula before and seen some of that rock art, or not rock art, cave art?
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people some people go to Dambula ever realizing that they are passing.
They're passing
Aluvihara, which is so close by,
on
right
the road.
on the road. So that's why I think that, remember, when you go next time, this is very close. I mean, right on the road. And the roads to from Kandy to Anuradhapura, that area, the roads are very, very good. I mean, before it took like hours and hours, but not anymore. So I think anyone can, even from Colombo, to go there. It doesn't take that time. All right.
All right. So who else? Anything new that you learned?
Honestly, I didn't know that it was like so tedious, but it's really cool to think about how the methods really haven't changed, and these are the kinds of things that have been happening for thousands of years.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's cool to imagine that those things happening thousands of years ago in the same way.
Yeah, I guess, if it's okay, why bother to change it, right? Maybe it
Yeah.
worked,
If
maybe
it
they
ain't
had that.
broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, so it is using the local products and local labor, local everything. And the Tripitaka was written like what, 2000 years ago, and they're still there. The Puskolapot is there, and even though they are called Puskolapot, I don't think they have pus. The fungus, they are not like destroyed by other bacteria or fungus, because that turmeric or kaha is very antiseptic. And so when you boil for that many 5 hours, I think these chemicals, the leaves and
It
all the
strengthens-
alkaloids, and
yeah.
they go inside and impregnate there, and just it's a protective, it's a barrier for these.
So it's not
bacteria.
necessarily like a lot of the things that we saw in the video were like very ceremonial, but I
Yeah.
think that was not less ceremonial and more practical in terms of strengthening the leaves and kind of changing the structure of the leaves themselves chemically to
Yeah.
make them, more
So yeah, so
stronger.
you think like
Durable.
there's in the video there was as Mihiri said, the practical aspect, then there was ceremonial aspect. So do we really need the ceremonial aspect? Because like in our cultures, the ceremony means you respect, even for the tree, because the product it gives at the end, preserving things for millennia to come, so there, you clean around the tree, you do pirit, and you have this various rituals doing, that is to what do you call it, respect or see the
Respect
import-
what that part of the tree is going to become, but it's also very practical because
Yes.
of course you want to clean around the tree
Yeah.
before you're taking something out, because you saw how the man with the machete was climbing up. Like if he
And the
had
poop, yeah.
stepped in like dog poop or something while
Yeah.
he was walking up there, it would have ruined potentially what he was going, what the book, right, with bacteria and whatnot. So just like what I was saying with the hell murals, the murals of hell, you want to also kind of consider the practical. I mean, we talk a lot, and I know you all know very, very, very well the Buddha's teaching, right? You know the Dhamma, you know how to talk about it, but also think about like this is a religion that it's living, right? It's a living religion. It has grown and evolved and existed throughout different historical events, through different sort of societal upheavals, and because of that, it's changed in certain ways, right? In order to pass on the Dhamma, right, you have to think about the practicalities of what that means to the people who you want to listen to the Dhamma, but then also like preserve the Dhamma as well. So as we talk more about these Buddhist sites going forward, we'll talk about kind of the historical things that were going on during that time in Sri Lanka and why certain things happen the way they do. So when you think about kind of traditions that you have been practicing, like think about, okay, why do we do this, right? What is the practicality of doing this? So for example, my favorite part of like the Panchasila and the Gathas and things is the Pupam Milayati one, where basically it's like we offer these flowers. We're not offering them because the Buddha likes flowers, right? The offering of the flowers is for us, the lay people, to remember that just as the flowers that are beautiful right now exist, they will also one day decay and die. So too will our bodies one day decay and die. And that's, again, it's a reminder for us that things are impermanent. So I'd like you kind of to think about as moving forward, think about like why we do these things, that there are practical reasons for doing these things.
Yeah, about this worshipping and blessing the tree, I think that is a good thing, because I mean, look at all the climate changes, right? People destroy climate. I mean, people cut down trees. Like instead, like you are taking part of this tree to make the Puskola. You bless it. Hamdru was blessing it before, and people were doing other rituals, and that symbolically shows that this tree is important to us. We need to protect it. We need to bless it, right?
Yeah, we're
So
showing an appreciation
Listen.
for our environment. And if even half of the people had an appreciation for our environment,
Yeah.
right, I think maybe we wouldn't have these kind of climate change issues. So yes, so that's again part of it. It's about being aware of your world and how important and interconnected these different parts of the world are. Okay.
So what about somebody else? Let's see. Who didn't? Tarushi and Gagani, like, what do you think? Anything, doesn't have to be this, whatever. We still have time to talk. We'd love to talk.
I learned about all the different councils because I honestly haven't heard of them before, and it's good to hear about them now because now I know.
Did you like learning about the Buddhist councils?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, because like imagine like more than like now 2000, 500, whatever, that things could just change a lot, right? If there was not this kind of process to edit and proofread pretty much, with the passing oral tradition. So it is very important. Okay, Setula.
I like how we talked about the sites in Sri Lanka, and like when Crown's over and I go there sometime, I want to like visit them.
Okay.
Is there any particular site that you would like to see?
It's the Royal Cave Temple.
The Rock Cave? The
Yeah,
temple?
Rock Cave. Yeah, that
Okay.
one.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
How about Kai and Jay?
I learned that we had our own special type of book, which was not something I knew before. That's really cool.
Yeah. And it existed 2000 years ago, right?
Yeah.
We had our own book made in the backyard.
And Sanadi, is there anything
About Kai?
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh, we only one of you spoke.
Oh, I found the process of making the pages for the book pretty impressive.
Yeah. And Sanadi, is there anything in particular that you learned that was new to you?
I learned and there's like another way to make trees and without needing to cutting the whole thing down.
That's
Yeah.
really important. You don't
Yeah.
have to cut the whole
Whole
thing
thing.
down to use it, right? And
Yeah.
I think that shows respect for the environment, like we were saying before, respect for the tree.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess
So I would still, any particular topic or anything that do you guys want for the next lesson? Because like talking to us, that really helped. That's how we got this idea by talking to you last week. I mean, like anyone, we can just put like Setula and Sanadi, but if there are some who are more older than you, but if there are
you
any
guys are
younger, like you, let us know what you want to learn, so we can talk about things. Deoduno, is there anything?
Oh, Sanadi, you have your hand up. Oh,
Yeah,
go for
yes.
it.
Maybe more historic temples,
More history.
history.
Okay.
Yeah, and history there. Yeah, I think as we were talking before, I think one of the most historic temples and the regions we want to talk about is about
bringing Buddhism to Sri Lanka. That I think is very, very important. So we will be talking
Yeah, we'll talk
about
about that.
that and King Emperor Asoka and how the Sri Mahabodhi was introduced, the Bodh tree, and how the Bhikkhuni were introduced by Sanghamitra, and
There's a
there
whole
lot
there's a
of things.
whole,
All
yeah.
we can put it in one
And
lesson.
into that one Buddhist
lesson.
site has all kinds of historical information, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Which is that my Tati's from.
Oh yeah, that place where my dad is from. You
From
can
where
actually
the-
see
from
the
his-
site from his village. It's really neat. And we will maybe put some pictures.
All right.
All right, it's Setula, since you're one of our younger.
Like today, I learned historical sites and I know history in Sri Lanka and those.
Beside Buddhism, not just Buddhist sites, other historical sites, because right now, like we talked about Buddhist site, are there any, so you're saying you like historical sites as well?
Yeah, like the history of Buddha, Supreme Buddha.
Of like maybe sites that the Buddha went to?
Yeah.
Okay. So not Sri Lankan sites, but sites
India.
like in India where the Buddha was.
So I was thinking about that, but all the places that related to life of Buddha Charite, right? Where he meditated, like current. We talk about the ancient thing and how it looks currently. And I think we will wait for Pinanda Hamdru, Bhante Pinanda to come, because he lived there and he visited there so many times, and I wanted to talk to him. And did you know that he's actually visiting to Pakistan right now with a group of monks, and the Hamdru is the head. As you saw from that slide, Emperor Asoka sent to Gandhara or Pakistan these Buddhist emissaries. So Buddhism has been in Pakistan as long as it has been in Sri Lanka. So when the Prime Minister visited Sri Lanka, he invited to the president, send a group of monks to see all the Buddhist historical sites and artifacts, and so that's why Pinanda Hamdru leading, he was a leader, and other monks is right now in Pakistan. And when he comes, we will ask him ask him to give a talk on his tour and about, because I really don't know about the much things in Pakistan, and he probably actually saw all those sites and things.
I could also do like a lesson on Buddhist art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did some time ago. I think you guys, they were not.
They were too young.
Too young. We did Buddhist arts.
And I took a class on Buddhist South Asian art in college a while back, but it's really, really interesting. Okay, so I guess.
So as you said, you are going to be doing a Google form. And
so
write
please
it
fill
in.
that out and say like what things that you're interested in.
Don't
whatever
just
you
one
want.
thing.
It'll be completely anonymous, so you can write whatever you want. It could be Buddhist, it could be cultural, it could be historical, it could be about doctrine. It's fine.
Yeah, and I will. I do want to teach you some Sinhala too, so we will
because that was
start on
something
that too.
You talked about last week. So
yeah. So again, raise your hands if you want to know Sinhala to read. Just and write. Okay. Most people. Okay.
That's
so
pretty much everybody.
we will, yeah.
All right. So that's definitely something that we will do in the future. Okay. So with that, thank you very much for listening to us all. And thank you very much for participating. And we shall see you. Sandhani, I sent you an email. Please, I would love to sit down and talk with you at some point. Okay. That's it.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good rest of the weekend. Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.